Got to have for Mother Nature. Love, love, God bless all love.
The waste we throw away on the land, like the waters in our rivers, eventually ends up in the sea, where it can have serious effects for fishermen, beachgoers, and other users of the sea. We must be very aware of what we do on the land so that it does not affect other users of the marine resources.
Disrespect and misuse you. We've got to serve her, love and preserve her. Mama, life sustainer, soul provider.
Trinidad and Tobago is an energy-rich, rapidly developing country, gifted with many natural resources, among which are oil and natural gas. Extraction of these fuels has significant impact on the areas in which mining is conducted. The threat to the native species of plants and animals, both on land and offshore, is quite real. The challenges to the environment are further burdened by the demands for improved services, such as better roads, better delivery of water and sewerage, and a greater need for electricity. An expanding manufacturing sector has led to additional effluent and sludge being released into streams and rivers. One of the areas in which focused industrial development is taking place is located in the Cora Tagarigo watershed. In this watershed, like several others, there are many competing activities. There is heavy demand on the popular Cora Recreation Park, which is heavily utilized by river bathers and campers. The activities here have been allowed unchecked with subsequent overuse of the park. There are housing developments, from the small homesteads in Upper Cora to the newer housing estates in Lower Cora and Tagarigua. There is farming, both commercial and backyard, and several industries located at the Mokoya Industrial Estate. This has led to solid wastewater pollution. There is pollution from pesticides, grey water discharges from the housing estates, fecal coliform pollution from pit latrines, since there is no sewer systems in Upper Cora, and effluent discharges from factories. All of these activities have not been managed properly and have led to an overload on the Cora Tagarigua watershed. Watershed areas like Cora Tagarigua must be carefully managed if we are to minimize harmful impacts to the environment. The answers to these threats are well known, but have not been implemented. Many believe that development can be achieved at the expense of the natural environment, but the converse is true. Development must go hand in hand with protection of the natural environment. Industrial and commercial development must be managed properly to sustain the very environment that provides us with so many resources. If we do not act now, we may become a fatality of our own lack of foresight. Studies have already confirmed that the natural resources of the coastal and marine environment of Trinidad and Tobago are indeed under serious threat from activities carried out inland. In fact, the 2001-2002 Environmental Management Authority State of the Environment report suggests that the ecological components of the marine environment of Trinidad and Tobago are not sufficiently protected and are highly vulnerable to the environmental impacts from development activities. This is evidenced by the fact that less than 1% of the total exclusive economic zone of the country is set aside as natural reserve, whereas countries in the developed world on average attempt to set aside 20 to 30% of marine habitats. Our forests are often undervalued and unappreciated by many. The fact is that forests in the northern range are responsible for about 80% of the surface freshwater used in Trinidad and Tobago. Rivers flowing from untouched forests release twice as much water during the dry season and between 3 and 5 times as much at the end of the dry season, as do rivers flowing from cultivated land. Forests in the northern range are increasingly being used for recreational, educational, and scientific purposes. Many species of animals and plants found there are also of economic value. They are used for timber, handicraft material, medicinal plants, and wild game. Healthy forests and mangrove help to control land-based pollution, siltation of waterways, as well as reduce the severity of flooding and storm damage. They also contribute to the protection of the nearshore fisheries on which many livelihoods depend. Yet the destruction of forests and coastal ecosystems continues, mainly because of increasing demand for housing, building materials such as timber and aggregate, agriculture, and industrial development. The Gulf of Paria is most impacted upon by land-based pollution. Several studies over the past few decades have revealed that effluent from domestic, agricultural, and industrial activities heavily pollute the Caroni River basin, which flows into the Gulf. Hydrocarbons, fertilizers, sediments, and solid waste from land use activities are transported to the Gulf via rivers and streams. The Gulf's water quality and biological productivity have been on the decline due to the effect of increasing land-based pollution. Too often, we place a value on organisms based on our ability to trade them as a commercial product. But their true value is their part in the ecosystem and their roles in maintaining the natural balance. We must be mindful of this and seek to maintain the natural order of things. So what do? We know that to begin tackling these problems, we have to look at how we deal with litter and discard our garbage, the manner and types of pesticides that we apply to our food crops, the quarrying activity which should be monitored, and mechanisms developed to trap silt in the watercourses, the installing of efficient sewage treatment, and ensuring that discharges from our industries are treated to protect rivers and coastal marine life. Policies and legislation are already in place to ensure protection of forest and coastal ecosystems. Lack of implementation and enforcement are often cited as the main reasons why destruction or conversion of ecosystems continues. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. In fact, in a study undertaken by the Forestry Division and the Organization of American States in 1983, the overuse of the Coro Recreation Park was recognized, and several options to manage the area were suggested. Our failure stems from the inability to bring the required change in attitudes and actions within the population and institutions responsible for managing our resources. One practical approach to address these issues should be the development of a clear national policy on land use, which includes community participation. The Coro Valley CPEP organization has introduced several sustainable practices and acts as a beacon of hope towards change. This group has developed the River Guardian Project, where local residents are responsible for managing the litter left or discarded by bathers and maintaining free flow of the waterways. They have also introduced zero-chemical farming and environmentally friendly farming practices to the area. This is a good start, but more needs to be done if there is to be any significant impact to the quality of water flowing from this watershed to the Caroni River and to the Gulf of Paria. A coordinated approach by agencies responsible has to be taken. The absence of a sewer system in Upper Kora has to be addressed. So too is the implementation of a management strategy for the Kora Recreation Park. Sewer systems in the newer housing developments have to be managed, and effluents from industries in the McCoy Industrial Estates have to be controlled. All this must go hand in hand with public awareness and the understanding that you and I are ultimately responsible for real development of this country.
Under the United Nations Environment Programme, the Institute of Marine Affairs is leading a demonstration project to reduce land-based sources of marine pollution in the Kora-Tacarigua River Valley. The lessons learned in this project will inform how we manage pollution in other river valleys around Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. But changes in our attitudes, activities, and behavior can reduce pollution of our rivers and seas. We can contribute to a safer, cleaner, more productive environment. We can make a difference.
That's because we love Mother Nature. We changing we culture, oh yeah. We love Mother Nature. That's because we love Mother Nature. She's we sole provider, oh yeah. We love Mother Nature. She's we life sustainer. That's because we love Mother Nature. We changing we culture. That's because we love Mama Nature. Changing we behave.